Hello, leader. As you know, I normally feature clients on this show, but every once in a while, I bring someone on who isn't a client because their work is too important not to share with you. Today's guest is one of those people. I first met Lisa Woodruff at a conference back in 2017, and I've been paying attention to her ever since. Watching how she shows up for working women, how she tells the truth about what it actually takes to run a home, and how she gives permission where most people just pile on more pressure. Because here's the reality. You can be incredibly capable at work, lead a team, grow a business, and still feel like you're constantly behind at home. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because no one ever showed you how to think about it differently. In this conversation with Lisa, we're cracking open the invisible workload of running a home, and that includes the heavy mental load, the expectations, and the systems that can actually make it more manageable. And yes, we had some fun with my Real Talk Rapid Fire segment at the end. So if you've ever thought, why does this still feel so hard at home? This episode is for you. Welcome to the Stacking Your Team podcast, smart leadership for women who mean business. This show has been on air since 2018 to help women who own established brick and mortar businesses fix the people side of their business so they can stop carrying payroll pressure, stop over-functioning as the default decision maker, and build a team that actually performs without burning anyone out or damaging their reputation. I'm your host, Shelli Warren. My entire career has been built on leadership coaching, team development, and creating accountable, productive cultures inside real workplaces. Over here, we don't just talk about leadership, we live it. This isn't online leadership theory, academic research, or HR speak. The work we do here is grounded in real teams, real workplaces, and real consequences. Each episode delivers practical, no-fluff strategies to help you lead a team that can carry the business forward with you, not on your back. And I'll say it again, the team that got you here might not be the team that gets you there. Let's go. Here's a bit about our guest today, Lisa Woodruff. For over 14 years, she's been sharing functional organizing and productivity strategies on the Organize 365 podcast, with 25 million downloads and counting, to help us clear the mental clutter, reduce overwhelm, and finally feel in control of our home and our time. She's passionate about making the invisible work of the home visible. Through research, books, products, and courses, she's helped busy household managers in all phases of life save more than 13 million hours of their precious time since 2018. And I can't wait for you to meet her. Welcome to the Stacking Your Team podcast, Lisa Woodruff.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for having me.
I'm thrilled to have you here because I've always been an admirer of you. I've always watched you from afar. And I am incredibly impressed with what you've built over the years. And I literally lit up like a Christmas tree when you built out your warehouse. Because of my manufacturing background, my brain was just cooking, realizing the effort that it took to launch that and how important it is. All of the systems that are required in order to delight your clients and customers who are purchasing products from you. I know how important that is. So I'm thrilled to have you here. And specifically, we're going to talk about your latest book. Now, this is not your first book. Heavens no. Heavens no. This is not your first book. So tell our listeners who might not be familiar with you, how many books do you have? And I'm dying to know, what's your process for writing?
Oh, Shelli. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, where Procter & Gamble is headquartered. So any compliment I get from you is always like, oh my gosh, somebody from P&G with some history, like saying I'm doing a good job. You know, I'm such the school teacher, like, oh, give me an A+. So I'm a school teacher. And I think that's important. If you have a teaching background, like creating content, like we make lesson plans every single day, like we have to write them. And so writing and creating lesson plans, blog posts, podcasts, content, lessons, courses, like that's what teachers do. So when people are surprised that you write a book or that you have so much content, I'm like, how do you not have this much content? Like, this is just how I think. So this is going to be my 5th book in Organized 365, but my 6th book in total. And every book is usually just written because I've talked about something long enough, or I have enough unique ideas that it makes sense to put it in a book and kind of like bookend that, because the podcast has been going on for 11 years. Like,
That is outstanding.
people are like, where do you start? Like, where do you start? I'm like, I don't know. Just jump in anywhere. They're all independent lessons, but everything has like a theme. So like the first self-published book I did with Organized 365 was The Mindset of Organization. And that came from doing in-home organization in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I realized every house in Cincinnati is basically the same, but the woman in the house is different. So like a young couple is different than a family with kids, is different than a single mom, is different than a woman who's getting ready to be remarried or retiring. And so how their households ran was different. And then also how each generation looks at the stuff in their storage room was different. So a baby boomer is different than a Gen X, is different than a millennial. And the millennials and the baby boomers kept having enough arguments in front of me that I was like, okay, we're having an intervention. Millennials, this is how hard it was to get stuff for baby boomers. Baby boomers, share the memory and then let the thing go, like in a nice way. Like,
Yeah, very true. So true.
how do we get these family dynamic conversations into books? So every book answers a problem like that. Like, what is the thing that I'm seeing in Organized 365 in the podcast, or what is the thing that I am seeing in real life as I'm working with people that you think you're the only one? But the truth is, every single household all over the world. And so how do we have a better conversation about it?
Yeah, I love that. So, and I've also been incredibly curious. Now, I was lucky because you sent me like an early adopter version of the book. So I got to have a sneak peek and read the book before it's actually going to be in anybody's hot little hands. And believe me, I was honored to get that for sure. And when I saw it come through, I thought, what a genius title. How did you come up with that title?
Escaping Quicksand. So it's so funny. I'm working with Rory Vaden's company to launch the book. And he goes, well, we always want to have a positive title, and escaping is negative and quicksand is negative. But if you think it'll work, I'm like, I think it'll work. So as usual, there are all these rules in marketing. I usually break every one. I don't know why, but I always seem to do things countercultural. This is how I felt at the end of my 30s. So now that I'm getting my PhD, what we find in psychology is in every discipline of academia, there is this unhappiness, this dip in happiness that happens in your 40s and early 50s. Well, mine, I guess, happened a little early in my early 30s. And I was just like, man, if I'm going to live to be 80, 90, 100 years old, I'm not going to make it if I have to keep living this reactive, negative, overwhelmed life. Like, I have got to fix my own problem, but I have no resources and nothing left in the tank in order to do it. And I felt like every movement I made was making everything worse. Have you ever been there where you're like, well, maybe if I just stop moving, I won't go deeper?
Like 2 steps forward, 7 steps back.
Yes. And I'd been like, my parents said they were getting divorced when I was in my early 30s. And then my dad got sick and then he passed away. And then we settled the estate. And then we went through the economic recession. And then the company I was working with, the direct sales company, went bankrupt twice. And I was just like, just stop. Like, I can't catch my breath. And I kept feeling like I had slid down into the pit of despair. And I'd hit, they say you hit rock bottom. And I was like, no, there's no rock bottom here. I'm like sinking in quicksand. And the more I move, the deeper I sink. And I'm afraid I'm just going to like literally go under and be gone. Like, I just felt like I was going to be gone. Don't worry, I went on antidepressants. I'm better now. But I think all of us get to that point where we're like, we of our own volition can't help ourselves anymore. And when I looked around to the other women who were my age and could help me, I realized they were sinking in their own quicksand too. And so there was no one to help me. And I was like, I'm going to have to figure this out. And so in my 40s, I did get organized, started the company. All those things are great. Those are external. Internally, what shifted? Like, I'm 54 now. What did I think? How did I change how I thought? What changed in my 40s that allowed me to hold on to that positive change that I made in my 40s? That's the book. What are the mental mindset shifts that I had?
Well, I also know that you live in a multi-generational home. And that's got to give you a totally different view on a modern home, right? I love the idea that this book specifically is talking to people that are living in a modern home. Like, I mean, let's get real. This isn't the 50s. It's not the 60s. It's not even the early 2000s, right? Like, so much has changed in terms of technology and design and expectations and social pressure. So because you're living in a multi-generational home, were there any like big moments where you thought, oh my goodness, like I didn't even know this was a thing, but guess what? It's a thing.
You know, it happened with my team first. So I do have a team that helps me run Organized 365. And a couple of my team members, while they were employees, purposefully moved in with their family members. They either moved in with their parents or in-laws, or they had sold multiple houses, and both families moved across country and then moved into one home together. Actually, in both cases, they moved across country and moved into one home instead of buying two. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And then in my case, my daughter is a single mother, and she now has two children. And so she lives with us. I mean, I don't know if you know how expensive it is to live, but it's not happening for a single mom. And also you need the help and support and lots of other things. You know, it is so expensive to run a household. I think back to when Greg and I did it. He's 5 years older than me, so he had 5 years of work experience before we got married. We dated for 4 years, and then we got married, and it took us a while to adopt our children. I wasn't able to get pregnant. So I met him at 19, but I had my first child at 28. And, you know, I worked that whole time and he worked that whole time. And I was a stay-at-home mom in my 30s. I just loved being a stay-at-home mom. It's something we had decided early on. It was all I ever wanted my entire life. But I did earn money on the side with direct sales and things like that. And the gifts that our parents gave us when we got married, the fact that he'd been already working for, you know, almost 15 years at that time, the fact that I was able to do a lot of home repairs on our own and had that like crafty, like make it work as a stay-at-home mom. I mean, I run the numbers for my kids all the time, and it is not tenable. Like, it is just not tenable. And I'm just like, there's no way for them to like move out, even with a really good job. Like, the cost of cars now is like the cost of a house. It's just, and food. There are a lot of families that are living together just because economically it makes so much more sense. And also, you know, we've had, you know, older in-laws fall and, you know, break things, and then it's expensive to be in rehab care, and then you've got to go over and take care of, like, it's kind of nice to live in community. I actually like it. My husband's like, I think, like, we need to add on so my mom can move here. I'm like, this is where I draw the line. You can only have 3 generations in one household. Like, she's like a mile away. We drive to her house. Like, I can't do 4 generations. That's where I hit my max.
Oh my gosh.
But who knows? I mean,
yeah.
If we do, you'll hear about it.
Oh my gosh. We'll hear about it if you do, for sure. So as working professional moms, whether they're stay-at-home or whether they're a working mom, they've all got this modern home that they're running these days and modern society pressure that they're running these days. How do you know, or how do they know that they're not just busy, they're stuck?
Yeah.
Because I hear like a lot of people, you know, they love that, to wear that busy badge. And like, oh, I'm just so busy. I'm just so busy. Oh, I couldn't possibly do that. I'm just so busy. Or I'd like to do that, but, you know, I'm just so busy. I know my daughter and I have conversations with her all the time where I'm telling her, stop overcomplicating your life. Stop it. You're doing this to yourself. So how do we know, though, when we've moved past from busy to, this person is stuck? Like in the quicksand. They're in that quicksand.
Some of it, I guess, can be self-inflicted, but I don't think it's very much. I mean, to run a household is a lot of work. I remember this was long before I started my PhD, maybe 2016 maybe. I read a study that it was something like 28 hours a week to run a household, not including parenting. And I was like, that's ridiculous. There's no way it's 28 hours with housework a week. So I wrote down all the things that they included in housework in this study. And I did a time stay for my husband and I for 7 days.
Oh my.
And we had spent 36 hours on housework, not including parenting. Now it was summer, so that included like yard work and things like that. And I was like,
that's a lot.
What the heck? I had no idea. And yes, I was doing more work than my husband, but he was doing plenty. So we're spending more than a part-time job, at least running our households. And if you're not treating it like a job, you're just doing the to-do list, then it's that funny meme where they say that the wife says she's going to go to bed and she gets up and she fills the dog bowl and runs the dishes and starts the laundry and cleans up, like 45 minutes later, she comes upstairs.
Yeah.
And the guy says, I'm going to go to bed, and goes upstairs and goes to bed. But all those things had to be done. And they aren't on a to-do list. They're just kind of part of your routine. Like they'll also say to women, like you get up on a Saturday and you're just moving around and it looks like you're just, like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. No. I mean, by the time, I think it's a beautiful dance women do. By the time they're done, they all of a sudden, everything looks sparkling behind them. But it does look like, a 2-year-old has been running through the house all day because they're like, but actually you're getting all these things done. And then all of a sudden you put a bow on it and it's done. It's a beautiful dance that we do. And we learn how to do it organically. Like we literally learn how to run our houses organically. There is no playbook. There is no course you can go buy. There's nothing to do. So you're like, okay, well, if it's it's up to me, I guess I'm going to have to clean this oven. I don't know how to clean an oven, but I'm going to Google it because I'd figure out how to clean this oven. And we just keep adding and adding and adding and adding and adding. And by the time you get to your late 30s, I say in the book, now we're micromanaging tasks we never even knew were possible and we don't even want to do anymore, but no one else is going to do them. So we have to do that. There's just so much.
Yeah, it's so true. I remember the first time, this was years ago in my marriage, but we decided to get a second fridge. My husband wanted a second fridge. And he came home with a second fridge. And my first thought was, oh, great. Now I have another fridge to clean.
Yes.
That's exactly where my head went. It didn't go to, oh, this will be handy. No.
Manage the expiration dates of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So tell us, what are some of the biggest myths that women believe? Like whether they're conditioned that way or whether Instagram is telling them this or whatever they're getting their source. What are some of these myths that women believe about getting organized?
Throw Instagram away if you want to get organized.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should be mandatory. Like there should be a law that if you show something on Instagram, you have to turn the camera 180 degrees and show behind the camera.
Oh my goodness.
I think that should be the law. You should have the in front of the camera and the behind the camera because, and I do that on my Instagram. I'm like, look how clean this is. Look at how trash the rest of the house is. We don't live in museums. We live in houses. If you want to spend all your time making your house look like a museum, you do you. But you're gonna lose the family and the enjoyment of living in the household. So I think organization is a 3-part cycle. It's decluttering, leads to organizing, leads to increased productivity. We are marketed increased productivity, and we are sold decluttering as the way to get there. And we skip organizing entirely. So let me go through the cycle real quick. We're told if you want to get organized, you declutter. So trash everything, become minimalist, get rid of the stuff, then it'll be easier to maintain. I'm not a good minimalist. I like stuff. So I'm okay with decluttering. I'm not great with it. The problem is, no matter where you are in the minimalism scale, if decluttering is your only solution to getting organized, it works the first couple of times. And you feel great because you have less stuff and you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This works wonderfully. 6 months later, you do it again. Now you get rid of the stuff you definitely need to get rid of, but you'll start to get rid of stuff that you actually want and need because you don't have any other tools for organization other than decluttering. Now you're getting rid of things that you wish you hadn't got rid of, like all of my books in my bookshelves. I'm not happy about it to this day. And then we skip over organizing. We go straight to productivity. 2 things that were sold productivity in the marketplace. Number 1 are the aesthetic of living an organized life. Bins, labels, colored, minimalism. So we're like, okay, I declutter, I get this aesthetic. So I declutter, I get the bins, I'm done. Or digitization. You declutter the paper, scan it all, now it's digitized. I don't talk about digitization very much. It's great if you want to do it. It does increase productivity for the user, not for the family. Generally only for the user. Digitization is very individualized. It's your phone, your Dropbox, your email. It's usually not a communal space, and it's definitely not helpful outside of the immediate family. Organization is where you learn in analog how to sort and reorder your space for the phase of life that you're in. As you transition from kids that are under the age of 5 to school-age kids, your house functions differently. When they leave home, your house functions differently. Your mother-in-law moves in, your house functions differently. And so you need to match your house for the people who are living in your household in that organizing phase. I remember when my kids were in middle school and I was organizing the kitchen and creating a lunch packing station and all of that kind of stuff. And I was in the silverware drawer and I was like, wow, my kids don't use toddler silverware anymore. And so we run out of silverware like every second day. Like we were running the dishwasher because we didn't have enough forks.
Right, because for years they were using the toddler forks and spoons.
Right. And our silverware was from our wedding, which was like 20 years ago. And I was like, you know what would solve this problem is if we got a whole second set of our wedding silverware, which we did.
Mm-hmm.
Now we never run out of forks and spoons and knives and all that on Thanksgiving and everything. We have plenty of silverware. That's what happens in organizing. So it's not just decluttering. You also have to add in for what is going to work in this phase of life. Another thing I did in middle school, high school was created a drink station because half of your calories are drunk as soon as you're above the age of like 16. Coffees, teas, protein shakes, like you're drinking everything all day long. So you need like a station for that.
Yeah, I was thrilled. My daughter and Milo, they just bought their forever home and they renovated their kitchen. It is so lovely, so lovely. And she was smart because she created a zone that has the drink fridge in it, but it's also set up to be like the lay down area, the presentation area when crowds are over. Right? That could be a drink station. It could be a snack station. It could be an ice cream sundae station. It could be whatever the theme of the gathering was. But that drink fridge, as ridiculous of how much it costs, because my hair just about lit on fire when I found out how much it costs. But it's an investment. But I think it's one of those things that, like Ellie's 6, by the time she's 14, like when all her friends are rolling in all the time, like that's exactly the zone of the kitchen that all those teenagers will be hanging out in over there.
Yeah, and it'll be out of her way when she's getting stuff ready in the kitchen.
Yeah, or she's trying to make a meal, for sure.
Genius.
Yeah, so genius too. So you talked earlier about this, like you and Greg did that time study and you found out like 36 hours is what you were doing on taking care of the home and housework. That invisible work, like I love that you're calling it out in the book. You're calling it out for what it truly is. It's work that needs to be done. It's an actual job. It's something that has to be managed. And yet it's seemingly invisible because you're not getting a performance appraisal on, you're not getting a raise, you're not getting a promotion for doing any of this. But in that modern home, there's that invisible work, and then there's the mental load that goes along with it. So when you're working with your clients and customers and you're developing, products to be able to help them manage all this at home, are you thinking about that mental load? Like, what are some of the things that you've developed? Because I know a lot of your products are very unique. What are some of the things that you've developed that are really addressing the fact that there is that mental load?
I'm almost done with my PhD in applied psychology. Emphasis on applied. Because psychology is really big on doing a lot of research and then regurgitating and restudying things they've already studied. I want us to apply what we know in psychology. So you're saying the mental load, you're saying invisible work, do some research. Everybody is talking about it now. Everybody's talking about the amount of work we do, how it's invisible, people don't see it. But they're just basically describing the quicksand we're sinking in. They're not giving us a lifeline out. And over the last 14 years in Organized 365, what I've created are, from my teaching background, lesson plans and a structure to teach you how to run a household, just the basic building blocks. Like you can put the ornaments on it however you want. You can have any kind of design aesthetic you want, but the functional building blocks, the mathematical how to run a household, that is what I'm going to give you. And in that, there's a lot of invisible work. So the way invisible work is described in academia is they'll call it housework, which is not accurate because even academics have said we have no operational definition of housework. So an operational definition is a agreed upon understanding of what that word means so that we can scientifically study it the same way in each study. We don't have that. So we have thousands of studies being done on housework. In some housework studies, they consider parenting housework. In some housework studies, they consider yard work housework. Well, if you don't have children, that's not your work. If you don't have home ownership, that's not your work. And that's because the sample population we built all these studies on from the 80s was 368 families that lived in homes with children. So Okay, we're not basing this on everybody's household. So I did an academic study under what is housework, and it's only 3 things according to the American population. It is everything food related, laundry, and cleaning. That's it. So that's housework. But just that work, Shelli, just that work, and that's the visible work in our household. Take meals. If you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that's 21 times that you're going in the kitchen to even heat up things if you're as bad of a cook as I am. Plus, you have to at least plan and go to the grocery store at least once, right? And that's no snacks. Like, you could see how much time this is and how much task switching this is. Now, I'm going to take another hop. And I want you, instead of saying housework, I want us to think of our household as the economic entity it is. In the United States, 68% of U.S. GDP is household spending. So basically, we want to know how the American consumer is going to spend money so we know that we're not in a recession because they are the one that's making the economy go round, right? Okay, so housework is the work that we have to do basically to live in our house. We also have household management. So household management is making sure the calendar is up to date and, that we've done all the operational things. We have the birthday gift. We've got the kids signed up for camp. We've signed up for our Pilates class this week. Then we have our CFO responsibilities. As a stay-at-home mom, I saw part of my income was saving our family money. So I played the grocery game with the coupons. I did diaper studies, so I got free diapers, and then I got the money in a gift card to spend. Like, this is the way I made money. It wasn't necessarily went through our tax return money, but I provided income into our family. So I like to have the household manager, whoever's in charge of the household, the CEO of the household. Your CFO responsibility is to utilize all the income that comes into your household. So even if you're not the income generator, you are running a business, and the size of your business is whatever you put on your tax return. So it might be $50,000, it might be $150,000, it might be $1 million. I have no idea how much money that you make, but whatever you spend in a year, whatever you put on your tax return is what you earn. That is what you are spending. It's another hat that you wear. That is invisible work that I realize takes me a lot more time today than it ever has because I'm running, helping my son, helping my daughter, the grandchild's in school, all these things I do as a CFO in our household, very invisible. I mean, yes, you see it in the tax, in your checking account, but you don't really realize how much you're thinking about it and paying for it and moving the money and making appropriations for that money. Then there is the strategic work that we very rarely do as household managers, but we should do more of. People will say you only have 18 summers with your kids. First of all, I don't think that's true. I think that's ridiculous because I'm still spending summers with my kids and they're in their 20s. So I don't think that's a true, like, you only have so many summers. But the nice thing about that is thinking like, okay, you only have one summer where your kids are 12, the best age to go to Disneyland or Legoland or take a European vacation or those things. Like, there are good times for those. And if you're just getting through your to-do list all of the time and you're not thinking strategically, like, where are we in our earning cycle? Where are we in our vacationing cycle? Where are we in our investing in our house cycle? Then you might not allocate your resources to the best of your ability in each phase of life.
And then you find yourself in a place where you start to beat yourself up because you weren't thoughtful enough. You weren't forecasting properly. You weren't paying enough attention to that. Now that it just slipped by, you're never going to get that back again, and then as women, we're so good at downgrading ourselves and beating ourselves up. So it's just another moment in time where you're sitting in your house telling yourself a story that I'm terrible at this. I'm terrible at this. And all of that invisible work. So all of that planning, scheduling, forecasting, strategizing, searching, researching, pulling together all the data that you would need to make a sound decision. Again, invisible work.
Yes. And so you asked me, and I did not answer your question, sorry, about the structure that we put in place. So there are really 4 things that Organize 365 has created. The first is the Sunday basket, and that's your weekly planning. So like, as you were talking about, this would be a great time to do whatever it is. I always have these ideas when it's not the right time to implement them. And where do you put them? Like, and I'm not good at Pinterest. So maybe Pinterest, but I'm not good at that. I print it out and I put it in the Sunday basket. So like, I have, stuff about Disney for the next time I want to take the grandchildren to Disney, but we're not going this year. But I have a place to put that information, or any remodeling that I want to do in the house, but we're not going to do it this year. I have that information. So the Sunday basket plans my week, keeps me on track, but also is a safe place for my projects. Then I couple that with trimester planning. So instead of quarterly planning in business, I do trimester planning because the American household runs on trimesters, September to December, January to April, and May to August is when we naturally plan. And so I just do a 2-day live, and there's a replay planning session where we literally think about the next 4 months and we plan it all out. And we think about it in our logical, strategic brain, and then we move forward from that. And then I have 2 programs that help you organize your home. One is the physical spaces called the Productive Home Solution, and the other one is the information management, like your files and your binders, and that's called the Paper Solution.
Which I think as your children get into school, the paper solution thing is a must. It's just a must. I get my granddaughter from school 3 times a week, and as I'm emptying out her backpack, it's just, I'm like, what is all this paper? And it feels like when Danielle was little, there didn't seem to be that much paper, but I don't know, maybe I just don't remember it. But there's just so much paper, and then it's like between the artwork and the projects and the permission slip and the newsletters and all the things, and you're like, oh my goodness, like, yeah, we need a system just to keep track.
And that actually is the Sunday basket, because that's all actionable paper. The Paper Solution is actually more bigger life events that are going to happen later, like selling your home.
So like planning for a retirement or like funeral. I saw some of the binders that you have. They are so well done. And
that's what they're for.
Anyone that's gone through elder care, which I have twice now, they're exceptional for that. So how does getting your home, and I loved how you mentioned this earlier, that manage your home is like manage a business. Like it really is. You're running a business called home. How is getting your home organized actually make you a better leader? Tell me about that. Like what kind of spillovers have you seen? Like either with yourself or your clients, your team? Because I know you have certified organizers at 365 that literally span across the United States, and they help people make all this happen. So what are you seeing in terms of leadership development?
So I'll speak for myself personally. When I was starting Organize 365 as a business from home, I was running it from home. I was trying to get all the little pockets of time I could to put into my business, and then I would also run my home at the same time. And eventually, I started working at this physical office that we're in. My employees had been here for a long time, but I had been at home, so I didn't come here until 2021. It was then that I realized that I really needed to work my way out of all the jobs that I was doing at home if I wanted to be able to be fully present here and not worrying about what was happening at home. And also if I wanted to start traveling, which I did for personal and for work. And until I could get myself replaced at home, like I did in the business, like as the CEO of the business, like I can go away and the business runs just fine. It's the household that falls apart. So if I was integral in having to do every single thing at home, personally, it was hard to replace me. So a lot of things in my phase of life, I just eliminated. Like when the kids were younger, you can't eliminate them. You have to hire somebody to come in and do them. But there are a lot of things I'm like, yeah, we don't need this. I don't want that. Like, no, because it's going to be too much work at home. Our household has to be organized. It has to be organized by us, usually, and run by us. So if you want to do less at home, you need to either eliminate it, outsource it, or, reduce the frequency of what you do. And it will always bother you that it's not done if you haven't done it. So it's not like you get away from doing it. You just are going to do it later in the day or earlier or on your weekend. And once you really start to think about your house as a business and that there's all this work that you're doing, I would never run my business the way I was running my house. Like running my business the way I was running the house would have been the equivalent of this. Coming in and talking to everybody in the office, doing my email, going and getting a snack, doing my email again. Like, no, I have rocks, I have projects, I have goals that we're going to do. And also how I would run my household was the latest thing I thought of or the thing that stuck out to me from the to-do list was the thing that got my energy.
The thing that was most frustrating.
Yeah. In business, we know that, no, Lisa, buckle down, record the podcast, do the newsletter, get it scheduled, get the sales emails done. Like you have to do the things that are going to be profitable and productive and move the business forward. We don't think like that at home. You should. You should think like that at home. And when you start thinking like that at home, you're like, oh, I don't even need to do this. Like a classic example is dusting. When we all got sent home for COVID and we all got locked in our houses, I had somebody who was cleaning my house at that time. I've cleaned houses and had my house cleaned. I prefer to have my house cleaned. Anyway, I wasn't allowed to have that woman over, even though she would have come. But I said, no, we aren't allowed, so we won't. It wasn't until week 7 of lockdown that all of a sudden there was dust everywhere. So I realized, oh, I totally forgot to dust. Like I did the toilets and all that, but I totally forgot that dusting was a thing. And I was like, oh, but going forward also, I don't have to dust any more often than every 6 weeks. That's not something that needs to be done weekly. So sometimes those things will point out to you things that you are overdoing, that in business with your team, you would be like, no, I don't want you to go to a meeting every single day for half an hour. Like, do you know how much money that's costing me? We should say that to ourselves. No, I don't want you dusting the entire house every single week. Do you know how much time that is costing us? And at home, the cost is your time, which is your opportunity cost. Your opportunity cost to plan, your opportunity cost to be taking a walk and doing something healthy for you, your opportunity cost for whatever you want it to be. That's not housework.
Yeah, I love in the book you talk about lowering expectations, right? So that whole idea of, when we were single, you could do laundry every night if you wanted to. And then when you have a baby, you kind of tell yourself, well, I need to do laundry every day. And then as they get toddlers, it's like, well, I absolutely need to do laundry at least every couple, it just kind of snowballs. But there are times in your life, depending on the season of your life, where do you really need to be doing laundry every single day? No, you do not. I think what we need to do is to start looking at what we will tolerate and have it be okay that there's always dirty clothes in your kids' dirty clothes box. And it's okay. That's part of life. That's a sure sign that you're not a slave to the laundromat that happens to be in your home, that you're putting effort and energy towards other things that light you up. Because even though I do know people that love laundry, I do. I know someone who loves laundry. Yeah, there's people that that's their jam. They love laundry. And at the same time, there's other things that they've learned to love too. So it's just looking at your home and realizing, it's like you were saying, like with your team, does your team really need to be meetings every day? No, they don't. And nor do they want to. So same with laundry. So just being able to listen to you, and because you're giving everyone the permission to not be so nuts about having this incredibly high standard of everything has to be pristine and perfect all the time and tour ready all the time.
Yeah, I think something that really shifted for me, my house was all the way organized. First of all, your house has to get all the way organized to get to this point. Not just laundry, but your whole house organized, which takes a couple of years. But when your whole house is actually organized, and I was doing my Sunday basket, what I realized I was able to do on Sunday was really think through the whole, all these different filters that I go through, like, what do the grandkids need? What does my husband need? What do the kids need? What does work need? Blah, blah, blah. And I plan out the whole week. But then Monday morning, I am a CEO until Friday afternoon. And then Friday afternoon until Sunday night, I'm a primary stay-at-home mom in my head. Now, I have work ideas on the weekend, and I have home ideas during the work week. But when I have home ideas during the week, if it's not an emergency, it waits until the weekend. And if I have ideas on the weekend, I just capture them and I bring them into the office on Monday. And I am able to be so much more productive and so much more present in both locations. And let me just tell you, your employees aren't going to call you on the weekend for something unless it's an emergency, right? My family knows that when Monday morning starts, they can call me. Like, one of my automatic replies is, I'm in a meeting. And they're like, you're always in meetings. And my son works here. He's like, you should see her. She's always in meeting. Like, she's recording a podcast. She's in a meeting. I'm like, yes, I work. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm working. And my working is meetings and recording podcasts and writing newsletters and working on my PhD. And no, I'm sorry, I cannot, whatever it is right now, you're going to have to wait until the end of the business day. And if I've told you I'm working late today, that means I'm not coming home today, so I will call you or whatever. And so it was an adjustment for my family because I was a stay-at-home mom. In my mind, my children are the top priority. And I do reorganize my schedule all the time to go to all the grandchildren's appointments and all those things. And I love that. But I am also a CEO. And if I stop being the CEO, we can't afford all the appointments that we need to go to. So there's an importance to it. I don't feel guilty either way. When I tell my family to wait when I'm at work, and when I tell my work to wait when I'm at home, I don't feel guilty. Now, that could be because I'm in my 50s. There's probably a lot of that to that. But I know that they're well taken care of. Like, if they really wanted to get the answer, they could figure it out, but they don't. So,
No, that's great boundaries. And I love that you're learning how to compartmentalize everything. And then you're teaching your family to be able to do the same thing too. So what would you say to someone who feels like there's just no time to even start getting organized? Like, what's one thing that they could do that they would feel incredibly accomplished, and it would be a really nice basis to be able to build upon.
First of all, Shelli, that's everyone.
Yeah.
You're like, if there's ever this, that's every single person is going, oh, well, at least she called me out, but it's so bad. You guys, it's everyone who is like, well, that's kind of me. Yes, it's all of us. It's me on the Tuesday. Like, yes, that is the American or the lived experience, Canadian, the lived experience. So yes, two things. One will just give you more of your mental capacity back, and the other one will actually make you feel like you're doing something. The first one, to get your mental capacity back. Sit down and write down everything you could think of that you need to do on paper. Now, I do this on individual index cards because then I play cards with them and then they go on the... So I don't do it in a list. I don't think lists are as effective as doing it on individual cards. But first of all, your brain literally can only hold 7 to 9 items in it at a time. That's your working memory. And we've shoved 9,442 things we'd like to do in our brain. And so our brain's like on tilt permanently. So sit down. It's going to be, grab a bunch of packs of index cards, and it's going to take you a while. Just keep writing and writing and writing. And you'll get to the point where you can't write anymore. It'll probably take 45 minutes. So just if you want to block it out. Then you'll be like, oh, there's nothing left. That is how my brain is all the time. Because I write everything down. When you finally get to the point where you write everything down and you don't make your brain act as a to-do list, it will act as the amazing computer that it is, make synthesis and be present and all of these things. So that's number one. We need to stop using our brains like it's a calculator and use it like the computer that it is. Number two, if you want to take action now, at night, before you go to bed, look at your calendar tomorrow for what you need to do, and I want you to write it out on paper. Writing on paper is a big thing for me. So you're going to write it on paper, all the things that you need to do. Now, if you're going to leave your house, I want you to write down when you're leaving your house and your driving time, because we don't think about our driving time. So you're going to write what you're going to do, and you're going to write your driving time. And if you want to go 2 steps further, a couple more things you could do, check the weather and pick out what you're going to wear like you're in 4th grade.
I do that to this day.
And then secondly, figure out what you're going to eat and when. And that's when you realize, oh, wow, I booked 2 things back to back and there's no time to drive between those. And I forgot lunch, which is every day of the week for us, but we don't realize it because we don't write it on paper. So that practice of all those things that worked in 4th grade really work for adults too. Like pick out your clothes, look at the weather, write down what you have to do tomorrow, set timers on your phone to go off 5 minutes before all these meetings so you go to the bathroom and get a snack or whatever. Like set yourself up for success tomorrow. And at first you're like, I don't really think I need to do this. Do it for a week and then don't do it for a day. And you're like, why is this day not working? Well, because you forgot when you were going to eat and you didn't know what you were going to wear and you're 5 minutes late for everything because you forgot driving time.
Yeah, those routines, the rigor in the routines, it's really helpful. Really, really helpful. All right, well, I want to play a little fun game with you here.
Okay.
Lisa, now that I have you. I'm going to call this Real Talk Rapid Fire. So I'm going to start a sentence, and then I want to hear the Lisa magic, the Lisa wisdom. Okay, so here's the first one. You might be in quicksand if...
You might be in quicksand if you can't remember the last time you took a shower. Or the last time you ate a full meal.
Yeah, that's true. A full meal versus grazing or eating like granola bars 3 times a day. Okay, here's the next one. The fastest way to get out of quicksand is...
I don't know if there's a fast way to get out of quicksand. But I would say the shift from sinking in quicksand to starting to work your way out would be recognizing that this is not unique. It is, you are overwhelmed. It is overwhelming, but it is the American female Canadian lived experience. And so you are not broken. Recognizing that you are not broken and you are the rescuer that you need to get yourself out of quicksand. So stop worrying about and describing the quicksand and start thinking about like, okay, well, if I am the one that is going to rescue myself, what do I need? What is my first step? How would that look like? What does it look like to be rescued? Like starting to ask yourself those questions in your brain. If it's empty, you'll be like, oh, new problem to solve. Let me think about that while we sleep. Let me give you some solutions. I could work on that for you. Thank you for giving me that prompt.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, here's the next one. Women need to stop believing that
men are holding them back. Their household is holding them back.
Oh, that's a good one.
There is not a single man in my life, Cincinnati business-wise, in my personal family, that's holding me back from my goals and my dreams. It is my expectation of what I think I'm supposed to be doing at home that's sucking up all of my time.
Yeah, that's genius right there. And then here's the last one. Organization is not about
what it looks like. It's about how it feels.
Yeah, so it's really not about how pretty the labels are and what script or font you chose.
My stuff isn't even labeled.
To print out on your label. Yes, there's so much nonsense about those kind of things for sure. And it's right, because I kind of joke around here in the business all the time. Like, I'll tell my clients, oh yeah, I have a real technical system for that. It's called a sticky note that I put on the door that says in a meeting, and then I graduated to signs. You can see one here behind me. Like, I have 2 signs. So the one sign says on a call with a client. The other sign says recording in progress.
We have stop signs outside.
I literally have stop signs that I put outside in my pod to tell people. That's my very fancy pants technical system that I use to keep myself organized, or to keep other people organized within my space here that I share. So tell us, before we let you go, how can we get the book? Tell us about the book club. Tell us all the things about the book, because I think it's one of those essential reads for anyone that, like you said, is thinking that the problem is there, or their husband or their life partner is holding them back, or their kids holding them back, or they just can't figure this stuff out.
Escaping Quicksand is available everywhere books are sold. So Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever. And then you come back to the Organized 365 website. There's a banner at the top, or just go to escapingquicksand.com. There are also links to buy the book there. And then you put your receipt in there, and you could get into our book club. So I'm a teacher, and I love to do things with people. So we are having a book club for Escaping Quicksand. Once you buy the book, you get into our app. And every week, I'm dropping an audio chapter of the book. So right now, I think we're on step 2. And so we're just going to keep going through every one of these steps, because thank you for saying it's an essential read. I think it really will speak to anyone who listens to it, reads it. But also, I know that I've read a lot of self-help books. I've read a lot of books that have given me a lot of insight, but I haven't implemented them. And so in this fashion, because my audience is so excited about the new book, and they're getting one chapter at a time, and they're talking about it in a book club fashion, they're actually doing the actions. So by the time the book comes out, they will have not only heard it, they will have implemented it, which to me is like the game changer.
That we've all been there. I mean, everyone has bought a course, they bought a book, they went to a seminar, they hired a coach, they did all the things, and very few people implement and execute like they aspired to originally. So I love the whole idea of you dribbling out the chapters, and it feels like bite-sized moments that you can absorb and that you can feel really good about moving forward, versus sometimes we buy a book and we look at the book and we think, oh my goodness, I was so excited to put this into action, and now I'm tired just looking at it. So I love the that whole idea of having the book club. I know you're great with building community as well, Lisa. So, and I'm sure there's all kinds of enthusiastic little surprises that you've got along the way too. So I just want to congratulate you on this work that you're doing. I think it's incredible. There's not a lot of people that are owning this space like you are. You've really built a reputation within this whole realm. And I love that you're supporting women. I just love that you're really helping to lift them up.
Well, thank you. What a compliment. Thank you so much.
Well, of course, I'm a big fan of your Instagram account, because you're so great on camera. And you always have some fun story to tell, whether it's about your grandkids, or something happening in your kitchen, or whatever's happening even when you travel. I know you like to bring us all along when you travel as well. So keep doing that, Lisa. Everyone appreciates the hits of reality, because there's nothing that you're doing that is making anybody feel bad about themselves. Like, I know a lot of people on Instagram in this organization space, as followers, we don't even feel uplifted following them, right? Like, we feel bad about ourselves. It's the exact opposite with you, Lisa. It's the exact opposite. We feel seen, heard, and relevant. Seen, heard, relevant, and not alone. So keep Keep it
Very
up,
good.
lady.
Yeah, today I was rescuing a bird that was trapped in our bedroom while getting the grandson ready for picture day.
My goodness.
Real life, you guys, real life.
Real life. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much, Lisa. I'm so thrilled for this new book, and I'm excited to have our listeners and my clients jump on board and get their book.
Thank you, Shelli.
Isn't she fantastic? I can't recommend Lisa Woodruff's Organized 365 podcast enough, and be sure to follow her online. She always is serving up great videos that are helpful rather than leaving you feeling like you're behind, doing it wrong, or not measuring up. Her work doesn't trigger shame, it replaces it with clarity, permission, and practical next steps that you can actually use. And be sure to get inside her book club. All of her links are in the show notes, or just pop over to the Organized 365 website. Come connect with me on Instagram, where I'm at Stacking Your Team.
This is Ellie. Come back next Tuesday. My Mimi will have another episode for you.